All right. Hey, how's it, everybody? It is 4 p.m. Wednesday, West Coast time. That means it is 1 p.m. Hawaii time, 7 p.m. on the East Coast, and 6 p.m. for our Central Time folk. I am Mad Statter. This is Chatter with Statter. And boy, oh boy, do we have some things and stuff to talk about. I have been putting off a particular topic for several streams now, not because I was putting it off, but because we were just scattered talking about other things and stuff, right? So today, though, we're finally going to tackle it. And we've got a few more things to tackle as well. But first, I want to say hey to Rick S. coming in first. Kenny from the Cove again. And let's see here. And we're here again. Ho again. Let the whiskey flow again. Let the taps blow again. Sound the way to Nell. All right, there we go. And Rick, that's right, from Pi Day to the Ides of March. And I'm so glad that all, Puzzy Cat, Kenny from the Cove, Rick, and anybody else who might just be lurking, hey, not lurking, we've got Elaine, we have got Darlene. Fantastic. All right, you guys. It looks to me like the restream chats are populating on everything and stuff. But before I say that for certain, let's just double check. I'm getting that from everywhere and everything. Yes, indeedy. All right, you guys, I don't know if your tech's working, but my tech's working. I don't know why I just said that out loud, though. All right, you guys, let's get the party started. All right, perfect. Okay, I cannot tell you how happy I am to see you guys here for a lot of reasons. I mean, first off, I'm always happy to see you guys here. But with the chaotic time changes, both universally shared and individual to this stream, I wasn't sure if you guys were going to remember when to show up. And if you didn't remember when to show up, I wasn't going to hold it against ya. So today, new time, same place, same people, same crowd, same random topics of randomness. That is what we have got in store today. Now, before anybody is just like, what's wrong? Why'd you do that? Yes, this is my hair, you guys. This is actually what my hair kind of can naturally go to. Despite all the proof that you guys are used to seeing, this particular hair is kind of its natural sort of state. So went and got a haircut the other day. The stylist didn't do what I do. And so my hair ended up looking like this. And I kept it looking like this because I need to do some refresh on the dyeing. And it seems like it's easier to do when it's kind of straight anyway. So I kept it this way. But if you're looking at my hair going, oh, I don't like that. Yeah, I don't either. So don't even worry about that. We're in agreement. I don't like that. Hey, Kayla, good to see you. And let's see here. Kenny from the Cove, seems like we sprung forward so hard we landed back in winter. Yeah, up here we have got a beautiful, gorgeous day out, but it is like maybe just 40 degrees. And in the morning it is a sparkly, frosty wonderland. So I have to say, we are kind of still in a winter situation up here too. On the other hand, I'm seeing a whole lot more birds pulling the little worms out of the ground, and the cherry blossoms and the plum blossoms are starting to peek out. So soon I will be getting pictures and footage of the blossoms. And let's see here, Rick, my hair looks marvelous. Do I use Prel? Well, I have Prel in my bathroom, but no, I don't think my stylist used Prel. I don't know what my stylist used, but I'm gonna hope and guess that it was not Prel. And Darlene, you talked with the eMusic too. She got confused. Fair enough, dude. Fair enough. And told her the correct times. Not sure if she'll be here in the middle of the day. It's big homework time frame. Yeah, Elaine and Ann Ware are both our scholarly scholars these days, and if they don't show up, that's okay because they have homework. They have homework. And let's see here, Kenny, Stutter, there's photographic evidence that you look good with your hair in a bun. Yeah, yes and no. When my hair's poofy, it goes great in a bun. But when my hair looks like this, I look like one of those girls from, okay, actually, that's not true. I look like a really fat-faced girl from a Robert Palmer video in the 80s. Do you remember those Robert Palmer girls? The little, dressed in black, all looking the same with their hair pulled back in a tight bun with the white face and the red lips, just, Yeah, I look like a round-faced version of those. All right, so, Kayla, you were wondering what it is that we're talking about today. We're talking about a bunch of different stuff today. But the first thing, hey, Pacola T, you lure queen, you, good to see you. I don't know where you are right now, but I'm glad that you are here. And, anyway, so today, Kayla, we are talking about, like I said, a bunch of different stuff. But one of the things we're going to talk about because, this is what we talk about. Did you go to Google today? Did you guys go to Google today? Did you see what's on Google's page today? Did ya? Boom! That's right. It is the Adobo Fest. And I don't know why Google decided to make their Google Doodle today a chicken adobo, Filipino chicken adobo day. But it is all about the Filipino chicken adobo on the Google Doodle this evening or this day. And so, Kayla, I made that up. Yeah, you want to go to the Adobo Fest? I would love to go to the Adobo Fest too. And so when I saw the Adobo Google, hold on one sec, I'll go into that. But first, hey, Kevin Frazier, just in time to talk about food. Can't imagine that, right? Talking about food here? What? Yeah, so chicken adobo. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Filipino-style chicken adobo. It is not the same thing as Mexican-style adobo. Let's get that clear, okay? Now, yeah, Kevin Frazier, love me some chicken and or pork adobo. You better believe it. You better believe it. And where I am from is a town called Bremerton, and Bremerton is a Navy town like nobody's business. And it's in the Puget Sound, and it's a little bit cheaper than King County, etc. Consequently, all these factors factored into the reality that Kitsap County is the home to a huge Filipino community. I dare say that if the Kitsap County had an official snack of Kitsap County, it would be lumpia. And not only would it be lumpia, it wouldn't be Shanghai style lumpia, it would be the other style lumpia. Hey, Praytik, good to see you. We are talking about chicken adobo right now. Well, actually, we're talking about lumpia right now, but we're also talking about chicken adobo as the main topic. So, oh wow, you're opening new stray cat shelters in New York? That is fantastic because the little wild kitties definitely need help there to stay in out of the cold. And then the trap, neuter, and return programs are super useful to help keep those populations down. That is good work. So, so there you go. That sounds super awesome. And let's see here. Darlene, you agree with Rick and Kenny that my hair looks just, it looks good, just different? Well, of course it looks good because my hairstylist did it, and it is a little bit shinier than usual, so I will give you that. But thank you guys so much. But let's talk about Filipino food, shall we? So where I grew up in Kitsap County, huge Filipino population. In fact, the Asian Mart that we as a family had been going to in Kitsap County since the 70s was called the Little PI, the Little Filipino Islands. And so it was a Filipino food oriented Asian Mart And so that is, that is the foundation, and that I'm coming from. And we have a restaurant in Kitsap County called Lumpia Factory. And Lumpia Factory I can literally recite their entire menu off the top of my head. Chicken adobo, pork adobo, pancit, pork lumpia, beef lumpia, banana lumpia, rice. There you go. That's their menu right there, right? So, Kenny, I kind of look like a librarian. There we go. Well, I used to volunteer in the library, so I definitely have had my library days. So, so now the chicken adobo that Lumpia Factory makes is a little bit different than the stuff that I make at home. Now, chicken adobo traditionally is made with these types of ingredients, right? You've got your green onion for the garnish. You've got your chicken thighs. It's always got to be chicken thighs, you guys. And if it's not chicken thighs, then then drumsticks. But as a general rule, I have never, ever, ever seen chicken adobo with chicken breasts. Now, perhaps there is chicken adobo out there with chicken breasts. Everybody has their own flippin' style. And speaking of their own style, so adobo primarily is a soy sauce and vinegar based marinade, right? And adobo, by the way, is a Spanish word that was used in the Philippines when the Spaniards helped take over there. It basically just means to marinate, right? So the main stuffuses and things in the chicken adobo are the soy sauce vinegar marinade. Some people add sugar, some people do not. If you use white vinegar, they tell you you're supposed to use sugar. If you use a sweeter vinegar, then you don't necessarily have to use the sugar. I personally have never used the sugar. The recipe that I work with, was written down by an old Filipino woman to me. And I cherish this recipe because recipes that look like this are the best kind of recipes to be working from, right? And Pacola tea, I find it very interesting that Oahu doesn't have many lumpia shops because, you're guessing that many Filipino families must make them their own at home. Yeah, I guess. And I guess maybe in Bremerton area, there's enough Howley families that love the lumpia, but don't know how to make it. So you can have a place like the Lumpia Factory. Because quite literally, the Lumpia Factory is exactly that, the Lumpia Factory. You basically go there and you can get dozens upon dozens upon dozens upon dozens of lumpia, and and they're all delicious. Now, the real deal with Bremerton style lumpia though is it is it's the beef kind of lumpia. For some reason, that is hey Panel, how you doing? We're talking about Filipino chicken adobo. And of course, lumpia, because if you talk about Filipino food, you got to talk about lumpia just a little bit. Just a little bit. And in Bremerton, for some reason, the beef lumpia is what is the most common. I don't know if it's because ground pork is just more expensive and not as many people have it on hand. I don't really know. I just know that growing up, when my Filipino classmates had their birthdays in the class, instead of bringing cupcakes, their moms would always bring the lumpia, and the lumpia was always with beef. And it's not the Shanghai style, that's the raw meat that's cooked in the wrapper. It's the style that gets pre-cooked, and then you wrap it, and then you fry it. And let me tell you, Pacola tea, rolling your own lumpia is absolute flippin' lootly labor intensive. And not only is it labor intensive, it's actually kind of difficult, because if you don't roll them tight enough, then the lumpia absorbs a lot of grease and it becomes really greasy. And I've definitely lost my touch, but because I was taught by an old Filipino grandma, well, auntie actually, but whatever. Um, uh, I was taught the right way, and not only taught the right way, but taught under some fairly strict guidelines. And there was a time that I could roll lumpia so perfectly it looked like a machine rolled it. I was so proud of my days. And then the last time I made lumpia, yeah, I realized that I had lost my touch. Oh my god. And Kayla, quick question, what is everyone's favorite Filipino food? Well, of course it's got to be lumpia for me, and then probably pancit, although I never make pancit, and then probably adobo. But going back to the reason for this conversation, it is the adobo situation. Rick, the adobo seasoning that you see is most likely for Mexican style adobo. Adobo seasoning is the vinegar and the soy sauce and the garlic and the peppercorns. That's basically the mandatory seasonings for the Filipino style. So there's no jar off of the shelf to go shoot 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 into the pot over the chicken. That would be probably Mexican style adobo. And while delicious, very different animal. Very, very different animal. Now, all of the adobos in the Philippines start with the vinegar soy base, right? But some of them in some of the southern islands actually add coconut milk as well. And it's called something different. I mean, it is called adobo, but it's like blah 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 style coconut or blah 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 style adobo. And since I don't speak Filipino or Tagalog and I don't know or remember what it's really called, I'm not going to tell you. But adding coconut milk is a regional option within the traditional Filipino adobo recipes, but alas, it is not really the main style. The main style is just with the vinegar soy sauce. And from what I saw on the interwebs, most of the recipes wanted equal parts soy sauce and vinegar. The recipe that I use actually is apparently, I guess, a very tangy version of adobo because it's not equal parts soy and vinegar. It's half a cup of soy sauce, 3/4 of a cup white vinegar. So, and it doesn't use sugar. So it is very, very, very tangy. But I love the tang. Now, for those of you who've been around for a while, you know I'm not really a fan of coconut in meat dishes because coconut is a little bit sweet. Coconut milk is a little sweet for me. But, I might be willing to try coconut milk with my super tangy recipe because the tang maybe would counterbalance the sweet. I don't really know. So let's see here. Darlene, though, you can't say for sure what your favorite would be. You haven't had a chance to try Filipino dishes. You've only tried one or two, like the ones that you tried. Right, exactly, Darlene. It's very hard to say, but my best guess is if you like any kind of fried egg roll, then of course lumpia is going to be something that, you're going to enjoy. And if you like any type of noodles, pancit probably will enjoy. And then, of course, we've got the chicken adobo. Oh. And I have a feeling that that you might enjoy that too, because it's not like it's a really exotic flavor with like Thai food sometimes has it's so aromatic with spices and herbs, and it's got the florals, and it's got a whole lot of, it's got a lot going on. The flavor profile of chicken adobo is very simple and very familiar to, you've had vinegar, you've had soy sauce. You can probably imagine what vinegar and soy sauce taste like mixed together. It's not like it's not an exotic to your palate kind of thing, and so my best guess is if you haven't had adobo, you probably would enjoy it. But you guys, this is what happens when I start talking about food. I start ignoring everything that everyone said. So I'm gonna have to go back, you guys, to see. Gonna have to go back to see all of the things that I didn't say hi to, or all the people I didn't say hi to, and all of the things that people are saying. So Pinnell, I'm fairly certain I said hi, but if I didn't, hello. And let's see here. Kenny from the Cove, around here, if you make good lumpia, you got a potential cash crop on your hands. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Everybody loves, yeah, because like Pakolity said, it's so labor intensive that people oftentimes would much rather pay you to do the work. Because yeah, it is. And the great thing about lumpia is you make it, you can pop it in the freezer. You know, you can spend a whole entire day making them, and then you put them in the freezer, and they're fine. You know, you actually, I prefer to cook them after they've been frozen. They cook better, easier. So yeah, and then you've just got your freezer full for when you need them, or when you want to sell them to people who want to buy them. Right? Right, exactly. And so let's see here. Um, so Kevin's saying there used to be an awesome Filipino restaurant on River Street in Honolulu. Don't recall the name of it or if it's still there. All right, we'll have to get some folks who might know about that. But Kayla answering her own question. Adobo, lumpia, pancit, Nalaga, and Kara Kara, and even, oh yeah, sinigang. Yeah, see, now, I can't remember what sinigang is, but I feel like when I was told what it was, I thought that I would like it. And let's see here. And Kevin, yeah, you didn't like the dinuguan or the duck embryo. Well, I think the duck embryo, the balut, that I think that's even among the Filipino community, that is a delicacy not enjoyed by everyone. So, let's see here. Let's see here. And yeah, and Kayla, for me, I love rice. Right? Yeah, exactly. You can't go wrong with rice, can you? Yeah, no, you cannot. And let's see, Kenny from the Cove. When you worked for the school district, we had 3 different truck ladies that would come by the maintenance shops to sell their wares. One sold tamales, one sold egg rolls, and one sold lumpia. We were truly blessed. Heck to the yes, because I'll tell you what, dude. Okay. Where I currently live, we've got a lot of places you can get tamales. Okay. And not only do we have a lot of places that you can get tamales, we actually have places where you can get both the corn husk wrapped ones and or the banana leaf wrapped ones. And those places are good. But the best tamales that you can get are literally from a lady who stands in front of the thrift store with her cooler selling her tamales out of the cooler. She's got bags. How many you want? $2 a pop. Bop, 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 bop. There you go. And so, yeah, having a tamales lady come to your workplace, that's the best kind. That is the best flippin' kind. And so, let's see here. All right. So Kevin, your sister-in-law is Thai. She passed on, but made the best Thai food. Your nieces do a great job too. Oh, that's fantastic that she passed on that knowledge down to the kids, because, you know, I'm telling you, man, these are the best kind of recipes right here. Now, if you want to try and steal this recipe, you're more than welcome to try and decipher it. As you can see, though, it has been well used and well loved in my kitchen for many, many years. And I hope that your sister-in-law, Kevin, left her nieces plenty recipes that looked just like that, so to speak. Darlene, you like Asian types of cuisine, soy sauce, water chestnuts, and other good dishes. Yeah, exactly. I think you would like the Filipino food too, especially since the Filipino food really, like I said, it's got some flavor profiles that are very similar to our Western palate. It's not like it's something really exotic, you know? So let's see here. So, And then let's see here. It's good. Oh, there's rife beef or something like that and sauce with fish sauce. Yeah, that sounds delicious. Kulika, hey, how's it? We are sitting here talking about the Google Doodle for today, which was the chicken adobo. And I don't know why they decided. It's not like it's chicken adobo day. It's not like there's an international adobo fest or whatever. I don't know what spurred Google to decide to highlight chicken adobo with their Google Doodle today. But when I saw that, I was like, well, yeah, we're going to talk about chicken adobo today. That is right. And let's see here. Rick, it's a delicacy enjoyed by some. Holy duck. Nicely put. Yeah, exactly. See, and exactly, Picola T, like I was saying, it's just like, even Filipino people, okay, I know, Picola T, you're not Filipino, you're Okinawan, I know. But, even people who, like, might be open to eating it, yeah. And then let's see here. Sorry, all right, Augustus, 1945. I went backwards, and now I'm going forwards, and it's been forever since probably you asked this question, but hi, can you ask a question? Yes, you can. And Pussycat, you've been listening as you were eating your spaghetti and meatballs, and to wash it down, you have a Venom energy drink. Awesome. See, you're eating noodles, and noodles are yummy. And so, yes, Augustus, sorry, I was way behind on the chat, and so let's see here. Oh, okay, it looks like maybe you cannot ask a question, or that you did, and my moderator got to it faster. So no, I guess you can't. And there you have it. So, let's see here. Kayla coming in with, we should try something called torta. It's a beef egg omelet. Interesting, because a torta in Mexican food is a sandwich, and I love Mexican style tortas, but a beef egg omelet? Well, I like eggs. I like beef. I like omelets. All right, that sounds good to me. Let's do that. Let's see here. So, Kenny, there were many days when my lunch was only what the truck lady was selling that day, and I always came away feeling the 3 F's: fat, full, and fabulous. There you have it. There you have it. And Pussycat, all right, now you're on to dessert. Sounds perfect. And let's see here. Yes, you used to wear an adobo shirt, although I don't know what that means. I'm assuming it just says adobo on it. And let's see here. So, Kulika, you've been listening a while, putting together a menu for a fishing trip. Well, as it turns out, Kulika, Filipino adobo, because it is so vinegar oriented and vinegar marinated and vinegar based, actually is a food that keeps really well in without refrigeration. And so you can actually, it's really good to like bring to a picnic or pack in your lunch. You make the adobo the night before, you've got the leftovers the next day, which frankly, I think we all know leftovers oftentimes taste better the second day around, right? And then you've got yourself some chickens for your fishing trip. Just suggesting, just suggesting. And let's see, I had one thing that I wanted to, oh yes. All right. So, Pussycat, I'm glad that you're here, and I know that you've been here for a minute, but now that I'm done babbling about adobo, I want to tell you, Pussycat. Okay, so I moved. Okay, you guys were switching gears. And now we're going to talk about my cat, Leo, that Pussycat named. So I can sort of consider Leo Pussycat's cat, even though he's not, but that's okay. So Leo came in to the house last night, and he ate a bunch of food, and so then I carried him into the bedroom to make sure to show him that his bed was still there without the pillow on top. And so he cuddled down in the bed for a little bit, but then he was like, I don't really want to be here right now. So then he got out of the bedroom and went out the front door. So he's really liking this front door access, actually. Like, he was really impressed with himself that he gets to leave through the front door now. He doesn't have to go through the back cat door. But I don't know why I felt the need to tell you that Pussycat definitely knows that his bed is available. He does. But he has chosen not to use it at the moment because he had better things and stuff to do. Once he got his belly full, he had to go out on the town doing things and stuff. And so I just wanted to give you an update, Pussycat, on what my Pussycat or one of my Pussycats is doing. And the other Pussycat is sitting here just out of reach. And Kenny, now you have a severe case of post-workout munchies. Reckon how that happened. I can't imagine. Would it be because of all of our adobo talk? All of our adobo talk? It might be. That is right. Eros caldo is like chicken with rice. Well, I'll tell you what, man. Chicken with rice in almost any iteration is a delicious combo. In fact, I remember there was one time my doctor was like, well, what is it that you normally eat? And I sat there and I was like, well, chicken with rice, and he's just like, what do you mean? I was like, well, there's arroz con pollo, and then there's, old fashioned chicken and rice, and then there's chicken adobo with rice, and then there's blah, blah, blah. And I like named off all these dishes that I basically eat. And I realized they were all one variation of chicken and rice or another. So, let's see here. Kevin, longanisa, Filipino sausage, North Star Market in Kalihi has the best. So, oh no, I have a package of that in my freezer right now. And yes, longanisa, so tasty. I love that flippin' sausage. I don't get it very often because it's a little bit sweet and stuff, but it is, oh God, it's so tasty. My doctor is basically like, he was just like, is it brown rice? And I was like, no. And he was just like, you need to be eating brown rice. And I was like, I know. I haven't started eating brown rice. I don't like brown rice. I don't like brown rice. I just don't like it. I wish I did. It's better for you. I know. I know. I know. And Kayla, yes, Pog juice for the win. I love me some Pog. I have a carton of it right now in my refrigerator. And the best thing about Pog for me is I'm the only one who lives at the house, so I'm the only one who gets to finish it. That's right. That's what I love about my Pog. And Pinnell, wild rice. Yes, I feel like we've talked about, of course we've talked about this on the show before. I have never had wild rice properly prepared because I've always had wild rice mixed in with regular rice. The wild rice blends where it's like, 25 grains of other rice and then one little grain of wild rice, kind of thing. But wild rice takes a little bit longer to cook than regular rice, so it's always a little bit tough, not quite a texture that I think I would like. And I've seen, pictures of nothing but wild rice and how it's cooked, and it definitely looks like it needs to be cooked more than I've ever tried it. Rick coming in, wild rice takes forever. Right, yeah, that's what it sort of seems like. It seems like when I look at properly cooked wild rice versus the wild rice that I've eaten, the stuff I've eaten is not properly cooked. And so I really do want to try wild rice though, because I've heard it is so good. And so I'm very curious. In fact, I might have to splurge and go buy myself a bag of wild rice just to eat some. It takes forever to cook, right, Rick? So if I start some tomorrow, maybe by next week it'll be ready to eat. No, it takes 40 minutes. Okay, that's not that bad actually. I knew it wouldn't take until tomorrow. Kenny from the Cove. Yes, indeed, Kenny, Yes, Kenny, you are correct. My version of hell would be eating brown rice, eating unseasoned brown rice with no soy sauce, and listening to Stevie Ray Vaughan. Absolutely, that would be my own personal yes, my own personal inferno. And so and yeah, exactly, Rick. Start at 11:30 p.m. and I can have it ready for breakfast tomorrow. Precisely. That's sort of what it seems like. That's what it seems like. All right, let's see here. What else we got going on? Yeah, all right. So I think we talked about things and stuff in the Adobo front. All right, now you guys. Now we're finally going to talk about what I was actually going to talk about like 3 streams ago. But we got distracted, and we're on the verge of getting distracted today. But let's not get distracted, shall we? All right. So, you guys, if you were watching Andy Boomatai's Daily Pigeon Live podcast yesterday, which, by the way, you better be watching it today because Tia Carrere's going to be on, and she's like a big deal star. But regardless of that, if you were watching yesterday, you already saw this. But we're going to talk about this a little bit more, and we're going to delve super deep into other things and stuff. But right now, we're going to talk about the petroglyph that they found on the north shore of Oahu. All right, hold on. Let me see here. Okay, now, you guys, I'm going to do something a little different than what Andy did because you guys, you know, that's right. Of course I have a map. All right, so the map of Oahu right now. We're looking at the map of Oahu. And that upper North Shore area that's all outlined in the red with the red and white, that is Pupukea, okay? And that is the area in which the petroglyphs were found, or were not found, but were exposed this winter. So, let's see here. So we're going to watch a little news video, and if you were with Andy last night, you already saw this news video. If you've been on social media where KHON crosses your feed, you've probably already seen this video. But we're going to watch this video again, and then we're going to talk a little bit more. So, here's the video, and remember, you guys, Pupukea, that's the little reddy area at the top of the map, because, you know, I have maps, and there we go. Boom.
This stretch of beach in the Pupukea area of the North Shore is typically covered in about 10 feet of sand. It takes a massive swell to push the sand away and expose these rocks. And if you're here at the right time, these petroglyphs can be exposed.
It's kind of crazy that I was able to come down and see the petroglyphs, so it's super exciting.
They were briefly exposed after the eddy swell in January, but residents say they haven't seen them like this since 2016. And some say they've never seen them at all. This morning, a lucky few were able to take photographs before they disappear.
It looks like it's definitely laying out some type of story. Really hard to tell what might have been going on or why they decided to carve what they did in this spot, but whatever it is, it's incredible.
Experts say there have been dozens of recordings of petroglyphs in this area stretching from Keiki to Rockpile, and it could have taken days to cover one symbol into the rock.
They're man-made, images, and they're called ki'ipohaku, literally stone images that were carved, I would say, through pecking, using harder stone tools on the softer sort of substrate, I guess. What do they represent? To be honest, we're not quite sure because we can't really know because all of these things are generally from the pre-contact era.
He says images depicting humans with animals, like these, can date anywhere from 80 AD to 1778. Kiki Loy says petroglyph fields are becoming more rare, especially on Oahu. And because this is typically covered in sand every other day of the year, it's hard to preserve.
I think the main thing is that, people, try to protect them by, not stepping all over them, and definitely don't try to get rubbings from them or anything like that. Just observe them, photograph them, and enjoy them, and so that they can be here for future generations.
Now these petroglyphs will likely be covered by the end of today, and with winter now on its way out, the next time you'll be able to see them, if you're lucky, will be next winter. From the North Shore, Nikki Schoenfeld, KHON2 News, working for Hawaii.
All right, so that was the Hawaiian petroglyph. And if you notice, they said they estimate that petroglyph was made anywhere from 80 AD to contact time of 1776, 88, 1778, whatever that date was. So 80 AD is actually fairly new, I guess, in the petroglyph scheme of things, oddly enough, even though it is 2,000 some odd years ago. We have some petroglyphs here in the Puget Sound, and these petroglyphs, this particular petroglyph, they estimate that it is maybe 10,000 years old. Now, they've known about this petroglyph for quite some time. And this particular petroglyph, like I said, they estimate at it being 10,000 years old. However, some new information has just literally been discovered and published in the last few months. Discovered in the last few years, published in the last few months. They have realized that that the humans have been in this particular area perhaps a lot longer than they ever thought. So let's talk about that for a sec. So I've got another map. I know, but hey. So here is a map of the southern part of the Salish Sea, aka the Puget Sound. You can see sort of in the middle to the right is where Seattle is. Now we've got up at the top encircled, we've got a town called Sequim, and we're going to be talking about Sequim in just a little bit. But the little red star near the bottom, that is the location of this petroglyph. And Kayla, does the petroglyph tell a story? This petroglyph does not. Many of them do. This petroglyph was thought to be a marker of a certain space or property or settlement of the peoples. It's a huge rock. It's about 6 feet tall, 6 feet wide. This particular rock, I can't remember who it was, but some really rich person back in the early 1900s wanted to remove this rock and take it to a museum. But the rock is so huge that they were unable to excavate it, and so they are just they just kept it there, which is fantastic. Pennell, Pennell, we're getting there, Pennell, we're getting there. Okay, so all right, you guys. Okay, so this particular, like I said, this particular glyph is at the bottom of the Puget Sound where that little red star is. Okay. Now, Sequim. We've got Sequim circled in red, right? All right. They recently found, okay, that's not true. Back in 1978, they accidentally found a bone. They found a bone. And in the bone, they noticed something was sticking out of the bone, and that's really weird. That's not part of the bone. So after many years of studying it, technologically teching things and checking things out, they have realized that this particular bone with the weapon still stuck in it is approximately 14,000 years old. And it is the first and oldest evidence of human-made tools in the in the North Americas. There used to have Clovis used to be considered the earliest human-made weapons and tools that were found in North America. This predates Clovis by about 1,000 years. So they realized that it's a mastodon bone, and they were able to figure out what part of the mastodon bone what part of the mastodon that bone came from. And after doing a CT scan, this is what that little piece of bone fragment that is in the bone looks like. So basically, it's a bone-tipped arrow that took down the mastodon. Or actually, they hypothesize it didn't take down the mastodon, which is why the mastodon was able to live and then die, and we were able to find it. So there we go. So they are now realizing that the Pacific Northwest, let's see what I'm trying to say, that the Pacific Northwest had human occupation, and it was human occupation that was sophisticated enough to be creating tools to hunt and kill the mastodon much earlier than they ever thought humans were here on the North American continent. Not only that, they realize with this location and where the ice sheets were because this was during the Ice Age, you guys. And so they had always thought that nobody was able to inhabit any part of the coast because they thought that the ice sheets went far out into the ocean. And so they're realizing now, no, the ice sheets didn't go as far as they thought they went. And they're finally starting to recognize that maybe, just maybe, people first arrived to the North American continent by boat instead of by land. And so in the article that I was getting most of the information about this particular fossil that they found with the bone fragment tool weapon in it, the Texas A&M people are the ones who did this study, and they finally published it just a couple months ago. So this is actually new published work, and they're finally realizing it's looking like the first people that came to the Americas arrived by boat. They took a coastal route along the Pacific Northwest and moved south. They eventually got past the ice sheets that covered Canada and made landfall in the Pacific Northwest. Now, if y'all have been hanging out with me for a while, I have been saying that they followed that humans came to North America via boat this entire time. If you ever looked at the chain of islands that stretches from Japan over through the Aleutians and then over through Alaska and down the Canadian coast down to the United States, it's just nothing but tiny little islands, and you can boat hop from one island to the next. It absolutely makes sense. Obviously, I had no scientific proof, but I'm so happy to know that this is confirmation bias at work. I understand, but I'm so happy that they're starting to finally open their eyes to the fact that humans most likely came here by boat. Now, the really exciting thing, and I think that this is actually what Pinnell was talking about. So just a couple years ago, the scientific community up in Canada started to listen to the Indigenous First Nations people who lived there. And there is a group of people, First Nations people in Canada, who insist that they have been living on Vancouver Island for 18,000 years. And as far as science is concerned, that's impossible, because it would have been covered by the ice sheets. But they decided to finally look into it and see if what they're saying is right. Verity undefined hunt. Yes, then consider how much lower sea level was way back then. Exactly. And then there's that, which actually I think, I don't know if you were here earlier, by the way, hello, glad you're here. We were talking about the Hawaiian petroglyph that was just recently re-uncovered. And I was thinking that too. It obviously, the coast, when the Hawaiian glyph was carved, it was obviously not close to the ocean, right? The coastline was in a very different spot. Otherwise they wouldn't have put the glyph there. So yeah, you've got the coastline variations, exactly. But all right, you guys. So, boom. We have got Vancouver Island. This is a little bit okay, so the earlier picture here, let's go. Hold on. All right. So, here's the picture of Squim, right? This is Squim. This is, and so where Squim is, just above Squim, that's the bottom of Vancouver Island. So, this is now further up the Salish Sea to the very, 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 very top of Vancouver Island, right? And Darlene, you wonder what area did they come from? History is fascinating. Nothing is really that impossible. Yeah, I'm honestly guessing that they came through. Would you believe I have a map for that? And so we'll talk about the map in a minute. We'll talk about a different map in a minute, but let's just talk about this for a sec because this is super flippin' awesome, I think. All right, so this particular little boop-ba-doomp circled area with the little sunglass or the little glasses with the eyes, that is where a place called Top Knot Lake is. And Top Knot Lake, they recently, in the last 2 or 3 years, took some mud samples from the bottom of the lake, and they did some this, that, and the other sampling, and they found out that they were able to prove that, yeah, not only was this area of the Vancouver Island not under ice sheets, but it actually had a climate that was temperate enough to have trees, so it wasn't just Arctic scrubland. And they collected pollens and seeds and all sorts of things. So they were able to kind of recreate what, or not recreate, but get a good idea of what the flora was, or fauna, no, flora, what the plants were and what was growing in that atmosphere. And they totally came to the conclusion that it absolutely would have been suitable for human habitation. And so between the scientific confirmation that A, humans could have lived there, and B, the indigenous insistence that, yeah, we have lived there, and we told you that for, I don't know, the last 18,000 years we've been telling you that. Okay, maybe they haven't been telling us that, right? For 18,000 years, but you know what I'm saying, right? So, apparently this part of the Vancouver Island wasn't covered by ice sheets, and unbeknownst to science until until recently, the ice sheets didn't go as far as they thought, and people were able to live in this area. So, if you look at the coastline already, you can see little islets, if the edge of that island was not covered in an ice sheet, it's very plausible that little boat hopping people could, go a little bit further down. And so they've dated that settlement, for 18,000 years ago, and that's a brand new number that they've come up with. They didn't realize that people were here that early. My point of this ranting rant is this glyph, which they've known about for hundreds of years, and they estimated with the knowledge they had at that time, this glyph was estimated to be 10,000 years old. But what if it's even older? I feel like that question is legitimately on the table now. I feel like the entire timeline for when and how people got to Turtle Island, aka North America, is up for reevaluation. Now, I know archaeology is always up for reevaluation, but like a serious overhaul, I believe, needs to be done in regards to this. And it's all thanks to that crazy little found bone that they, with carbon dating, were able to absolutely give a very specific timeline for. And that timeline was already thousands of years earlier than they thought people were here. That, in combination with what they found at Top Knot Lake, which was even thousands upon thousands upon thousands of years earlier than they ever thought. Well, I'm just thinking maybe things are older than people think. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if the glyph that we saw in the Hawaii clip was older than they think. Because I really, really, really think that history still is only beginning to recognize how early boats were used for travel. I really, really have this instinct that boats are not recognized as an important. Where boats arrive in the timeline. I think that people are a little late. They give humans boats later in the game than humans actually had their boats. I think humans had boats much longer than anyone is giving us credit for. And so, yeah, exactly, Darlene. New evidence, facts, new relics being found is putting light on what's now being questioned, and that's how things change the history. Precisely, exactly. And so I'm so excited about all of these new findings coming together to create a better understanding of the areas that we all live. And I think it's super exciting that, just a total coincidence, obviously, I had no way of knowing that my parents would move to an area of the world that holds such wonderful and amazing human-made wonders. To me, petroglyphs are something exotic that, like, you see in Hawaii, or you see in the plains or in the deserts. To have a petroglyph in the Puget Sound, what? And then find out that maybe it's a sign of like some of the first peoples to be on this land. I'm just filled with giggles and glee. And let's see here, Verity. Back when the Pilgrims and Europeans migrated to North America, the West Coast was the most densely populated. Yep. Let's try that one more time. The West Coast was the most densely populated part of the continent. And too many PBS docs, you're with you on boats. Yeah, and I'm not really surprised that the West Coast was the most densely populated, because for the most part, the West Coast, that band of land that runs basically from Vancouver Island down to Mexico, the band of land that's between the ocean and then the coastal ranges, or in Washington, the Olympic Peninsula, that band of land is so fertile and so abundant with food and so easy to live off of. The climate is incredibly mild. The fresh water is in some places more abundant than necessary. Yeah, it makes sense that it would be, it's an easy place to survive, basically. And when I say easy, that's a relative sense. It's just not necessarily as difficult as, say, being in the middle of the Mojave, right? Right. And let's see here. Ricks, don't be too hard on science. They must be 100% on things that they don't have that much evidence or proof. Yeah, totally. Yeah, exactly. And so let's see here. Pinnell, one of those people, is an archaeologist and helped dig up the buildings on that TV show. Okay, I'm not sure what TV show we're talking about, but that's cool. And let's see here. All right, cool. All right, excelente. You guys are having some conversations. Fantastic. The scientists, you bet, were in awe. True scientists love new discoveries and then want to do more exploring and discovering. It stirs them up. Well, Penel, that's true in theory. But scientists are humans, and humans have egos, right? And so if you were a scientist who spent a certain amount of time and energy of your career proposing this one thing, defending it, proving it, and then new evidence comes to show that maybe you weren't as right as you thought, some scientists have a very hard time letting go of what they discovered, or of their old, because it's an ego thing, and so and scientists are humans. I'm not judging them, because oh, look at that human with an ego, oh, look at that human with an ego, so but it's pretty amazing how some scientists, you would think that all of them would be open to new evidence to prove new things, but sometimes communities dig their heels in about what is truth, and the truth has been settled. The Clovis First community, for instance, has long been disproven, but there are still people who dig their heels in and say, I'm not so sure it has been disproven. And so, ego, basically. So now let's see here. Let me see if I can find, it. Oh no, please don't tell me I didn't do what I did. Oh, okay. All right. Okay. I have these maps for a different purpose entirely. So these maps are very random. Like, why would you choose a map like that? Because these maps were pulled for a different topic, but they still prove what I'm talking about here. Okay, so this is a map of the Ainu people of Japan. The Ainu people of Japan were the indigenous population of Japan back in the day. And this is where the Ainu people lived, right? So there's Hokkaido, you've got the Kuril Islands, and then you've got up here in the upper right corner, you've got Kamchatka. Kamchatka Peninsula is part of Russia, right? I know, right, Verity? Like, academics with egos? Who'd have thunk it? Right, exactly. It happens. And so, okay, we're looking at a map of Japan right here. We've got the Sea of Japan, we've got the Pacific Ocean, we're looking at some of Japan islands and part of Russian islands. All right, now, boom, bigger map here. We've got the same Kamchatka Peninsula, right, that we had in the other map. And then look at all of these little purple islands. Look at all of this string of islands that goes, there's the Aleutians, across to Alaska, down the coast, and then we've got Squim. Remember Squim? We talked about Squim earlier, right? So look at those islands. Look at that. Just look at that string of islands. Are you telling me that they didn't boat? Are you telling me that they didn't boat? All you see is Hawaii? Wait, hold on. Let me see if I can find... I didn't see Hawaii in there, did I? Are you... What? Hold on. There we go. Rick, you're hallucinating. You be hallucinating Hawaii. I don't see no Hawaii on this map, but that's a good hallucination. That's a darn good hallucination. And let's see here, Picola T, your folks went to an Ainu village after watching their song and dance. Dad said the similarities to North American indigenous tribes is uncanny. Now, I know that DNA evidence is eventually going to prove or disprove this little chatter that we're having here, but at the same time, I really don't think it's that difficult to imagine, God dang it, people boat hopping, right? And lower center right. Yeah, oh! Sorry, you guys, I didn't mean to just shout there I see it too. Yeah, totally. I thought that was just a smudge on my screen. You're right. All you see is Hawaii. There you go. There you go. Well, as you can see, if if you guys can see that smudge in the middle of your screen, that apparently is Hawaii. Um, as you can see, that is much further away from other islands to island hop. Unlike these islands that are in purple, you know, these islands that are in purple, they look a little bit easier to island hop from. And by the way, in case you are like, why do I feel like I saw that map before? When we were talking about the pigeon guillemots, the birds that I took a video of, that was their coastal range. And so, so, so I just still had that, still had to, still had that on my system because I think it's it's a great map that outlines the chain of islands that connects Asia to North America. And instead of a flippin' land bridge, how about boat hopping, y'all? Yeah. So, and let's see here. Kenny from the Cove, you wonder what lands or islands the true first North Americans started from before they got here. Yeah, I don't know either. Like Pocola T's parents were saying, you know, it could be the Japan area, you know, the Ainu area of Japan, of Asia, as it were. And like I said, I'm sure one day our DNA analysis will reveal more of these things, and we'll be getting a much clearer picture. But as Pinnell says, DNA is not that good yet, and yours still gives you headaches. Oh. And yeah, and Rick and Darlene, though, should it surprise anyone that Rick was the one who found Hawaii in that picture, even though we weren't talking about Hawaii for once on this stream? No, because if you've been here the last couple days, you know that Rick and Darlene are going to go to Hawaii in April and May. And so right now, all they can see is Hawaii in their dreams. Hawaii in the islands, Hawaii in the seas. That's all they are focused on right now. And I think that's awesome. And Pinnell, you recently read that there's some Hawaiian in some native people from before white people. Yeah, absolutely. I'm not at all surprised. Because here's the deal. Here's the deal, y'all. Native Americans, they flippin' got around, right? So my best friend in high school, he is of the Nez Perce tribe. His grandma was born, as I've mentioned before, as a prisoner of war on the reservation. I don't remember what the reservation's called right now. There's a really big reservation in Eastern Washington, and that is where the Colville Reservation. She was born as a prisoner of war on the Colville Reservation, which is where the vast majority of the Nez Perce ended up. So, throughout his life, he assumed he was of Nez Perce heritage. He assumed that was his DNA, that was his lineage, etc., etc. His mom decided to go, get a DNA test, 23andMe. Well, as it turns out, all of her indigenous blood is Guatemalan. Guatemalan. From Guatemala? Guatemala in Central America. Not Nez Perce. Not Nez Perce area. And they realized that is what their great-grandma, that's where she came from. Because all her life she kept talking about the long walk. She was brought as a wife from Guatemala to the Pacific Northwest. She walked the entire way. It was a long walk. So even though she was part of the Nez Perce tribe and treated as such, married into it, had children within that culture, none of them had carried Nez Perce DNA. They were Guatemalan. So, just in one generation, a Guatemalan person can suddenly be an entire continent away. Or, and so, I'm not surprised that, as Bacola T was mentioning, yeah, somebody got around. Yep. It's amazing how genetics can get spread around. And Elaine, there have been scientists comparing the designs on pottery and items as far down as Chile with the Ainu pottery designs. Years differences, but very similar shapes, etc. There's been proof of it. Exactly. That's Elaine. Perfect. Another avenue of, hey, look at this weird coincidence. And what do you know? Chile. Oh, is that a coastal country with a lot of islands that can be hopped down? Because really, the Ring of Fire is full of islands. Not even close to surprised to hear that we have got Ainu all the way down to Chile. And let's see here. Could it be they came as far south as the Solomons or even Australia? I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, Kenny, if there was multiple routes. If there was a southern route and a northern route, and different peoples came at, in different ways from different places. But, yeah, these are all questions that you need to be asking, well, I mean, I guess you don't need to be asking, but I think these are important questions to be asking. So, and let's see here. The Native Americans got around. I wonder if they had horses before the first explorers got here, and if so, where did the horses come from? Actually, I don't know whether or not they had horses, but they're starting to realize that horses started here in America, and then went over to Europe. Went over to Asia, Eurasia. So, they did have horses here pre-contact. Whether or not the horses, they had animals that what evolved into modern day horses started here. The animal that evolved into modern day horses somehow made it over to Europe. Not Europe, Eurasia, Asia, etc. And developed into the modern breed that we know now. But yeah, there was actually horses here. Whether or not there was people here at the same time that the horses were here, different story entirely. But oddly enough, horses actually started here and then left here and then came back to here. So yeah. And yeah, Pakalika, that was a very funny little thing there. And so let's see here. And okay, Pinnell coming in. There were horses. People thought that they were killed, but some claim that they're still around. Yeah, see, and that's what we're talking about. And so yeah, that's that. I think Pinnell and I are talking about the same thing, in regards to that. And so, let's see here. Yes, but the boat idea wasn't in there. Talk was that is a long way to walk around and down the land. Boats, yes. Yeah, exactly, dude. I mean, I'm sure that eventually people maybe did walk, but it to me seems really obvious that they would have used boats. For instance, as if you were with us on Statterbox at the cinema or chose to watch it later, the helicopter flight that I took over Hawaii Island back in the day, the helicopter pilot was talking about how from one valley to the next, from the Waipio Valley up to the next valley, it would take 10 hours to hike it over land. Or if you were just to hop on a kayak, it takes 1 hour of paddling. So, yeah, I mean, Boats. 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 And so, okay, Darlene, right. There's evidence the continents we don't know were attached and then separated. Yeah, and so the horses could have, made their migration, but and we don't know everything. We don't know all the things. We don't know all the stuff, but we've got some ideas, right? And if science is going to do its job, right, they're going to reevaluate the ideas. And let's see here, Kenny from the Cove, with ocean levels being considerably lower way back then, was island hopping from the islands as arduous a task as it would have been today, using the ancient boats and navigational skills that they had back in the day? Excellent question. I have no answers. And and let's see here. Elaine, scientists have found tropical trees and flora and seashells and things in the high Arctic. The Earth tipped, so it was tropical, but now it's Arctic. Right, yeah. So lots of changes, etc., etc. And in those time frames, things that we didn't necessarily imagine could happen, well, I'm starting to think they could have happened, maybe. Just maybe, right? I don't know. All right, so we talked about a lot today, and mostly it was just me babbling about things and stuff, but I'm so glad you guys let me explode all of this information onto you, because I've been really excited about the tool that was found. And then when I read about the village on the northern tip of Vancouver Island, it kind of dovetailed. And then when the Hawaii petroglyph was exposed, it was just like, oh my gosh, it's all coming together now. So today's show was chock full of things and stuff. However, we're not done yet. We're not done. We have at least one more thing to do. So, why don't we take our Lono listening break, shall we? All right, let's do it.
In honor of Honani Lono. Ka pole pumeana hualalai e nani ka ikena o na maka Uia na maka ia kukui o higai E rehi holu ke koe I ka mali e Maha au I ka laka mai kai A ki halani laua e me nipo Mele na ke ia nona aku aloha na ke aku amalama ki ai e ola ka ino ai kukui o vai I ka laiku Ki halani kilo molo ai konea lele a mehiva O ulu ke aloha ki kahi I ka nohona maoloa E ka kamakani o na kona I ka po anua ka mahina kau O olo he mai ke kani o iauka Ina leo hone o na manu I ka ke ke ia Lona aku aloha Ake aku amalama ki ai E ola ka inoa e kukui o ki ai Ke aloha maunu I ka home I ka au Pohaia e nā lau kukui E wehi ka e nā ona kupuna Ano hano no oi e kukui o I vai E mele aina ke ia Ona aku aloha Ke aku amalama ki ai E ola ka inoa e kukui o ki vai E mau ke aloha I a kukui o ki vai
All right, there we go. So, yes, happy birthday on Friday, Darlene. I'll probably see you before then, so I'll probably say it again, but in case I don't, hope you do have the happy birthday. All right, so we've got 6 minutes to wrap stuff up, and we're going to do a very brief recap for Pakalika. Pakalika, all right, you might have heard, because you are from this area, of a place called Squim. That's right, I'm whipping the map out again. Squim, you know where it's at. It's in that red circle right there. All right, so back in 1978, they accidentally found a mastodon bone. This mastodon bone had something sticking out of it, and they thought that's kind of weird. What's going on with that bone sticking out of that bone? And they decided to do some things and stuff, scientifical and everything. Recently, in the last couple months, they have released their science findings, and they found out that, hey, check it out, yo, that was a mastodon bone, and that is where that bone came from. But not only is that where that bone came from, in the bone is another bone, and that little bone fragment was a tip of a arrow, a human-made weapon that was shot at the mastodon, and through various and assorted scientificalnesses, they realized that this weapon is about 1,000 years older than the earliest known human-made weapon on the continental United States. It's given some evidence that perhaps there were humans in this area before they thought humans could inhabit this area, and the scientific findings are finally starting to make them recognize that maybe, just maybe, people came here by boat instead of a land bridge. And so that is what we talked about today. Only, it took a lot longer when we talked about it the first time. So that was the very brief synopsis, and I think I did it in under a minute with pictures and everything. All right, you guys. So I want to thank you all for hanging out today and being willing to listen and learn about all the random stuff. And then of course, the most important thing that we talked about at the beginning of the stream was chicken adobo. That's right. How could it not be a Stratter with Statter without a little bit of food? We talked about chicken adobo. We talked about lumpia. That's right. We talked about lumpia, and it was delicious, and how much everybody loves the lumpia. And so there we have it. And Kenny from the Cove, wonder if that ancient hunter got to actually harvest that mastodon, or did the mastodon stomp him out? No, from what I was reading in the article Obviously, we don't really know, but from what I was reading in the article, they hypothesized that no, that arrow didn't kill the mastodon. The mastodon ran off, lived with the injury for the rest of his life, and then died. And that's why we have, that's why we were able to find it. So there we have it. Pakalika, you made homemade teriyaki beef ribs. Well, how appropriate is that? We were talking about adobo, not exactly teriyaki, but not teriyaki. And we were talking about ribs. You must have known. That is right. You were seeing the statter in your dinner. That's what you were doing. All right, you guys. So Saturday is when we're going to see each other again for Statterbox at the cinema, and we're going to be watching School of Rock with Jack Black. We will not be streaming on YouTube for Saturday. Statterbox at the cinema will only be on Twitch. School of Rock. I don't want to get copyright struck, and if anything's going to get copyright struck, something as mainstream as School of Rock is going to be in there. So, that is what we're doing. And what we're also doing right now is, let's see here, one of the twins, Madame Stoddard, says Verity, one of the twins who started the company Dive and Surf found what is believed to be an ancient, an ancient Chinese anchor all the way down off of PV in SoCal. Whoa, dude. Oh, that is super awesome. And let's see here. Rick telling Pakalika, check for Clovis points before you grind them. Yeah, before you grind them. And let's see here. All right, perfect. Okay, so we are going to see each other hopefully on Saturday. And if everything goes right, we're going to see each other in about a half an hour on the Daily Pigeon Live podcast with Tia Carrere. Tia Carrere from Wayne's World, from Aloha Summer, and from a whole bunch of other movies that I don't really know. Because basically, as far as I'm concerned, Wayne's World, Party Time, Excellent is the only thing I can think of when I see this wonderful lady. So join us later tonight on Daily Pigeon Podcast. And I want to thank everybody who has been here today, donating biddies, subscribing, gift subbing, etc., etc. And I want to thank everybody who is watching this or listening to it after the fact on either Twitch or on YouTube. If you're on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe. If you're on Twitch, don't forget to follow and subscribe, or do the thing. Do the thing. There you go. Do the thing. And okay, Kenny from the Cove, she sings Aloha. Aloha Oi on Lilo and Stitch, and she's the voice of Nani. Got it. Elaine, what time Saturday? 6 p.m. West Coast time. So you're on Hawaii, so that'll be 3 p.m. your time. Because since the time changed, now we're 3 hours difference between West Coast and Island time. So 3 p.m. your time, 6 p.m. West Coast time, 9 p.m. East Coast time, and everybody else gets to do their math. Okay? So, that's your homework. Do your math for the time change, etc., etc. All right, you guys. There we have it. We will see each other soon. Hopefully Saturday. Hopefully in just a couple hours. All right, then. Check you later. Have a good one.